right, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Happy Saturday. This is the day that the Lord has made, and we will be glad and rejoice in it. Are you glad this morning, women of destiny and men? Give you guys some time to get settled on this Saturday morning, and we'll get started in another minute or so. All right, we have Sandra Sanford watching. Hey, I'm Sandra Jean. So come on in, and as you sit down or as you're watching, let us know where you're watching from, how you doing this morning. Feel free to let us know. Put in the chat something good God has done for you this week. All right. Well, in the interest of time and the short time that we have to really go through some really good stuff, we're going to go ahead and get started. Mom, I will turn it over to you.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. I am Decorius Vines, your host, with Mimi Lovelace as your co-host. As always, we are excited that you have carved some time from your busy day to join in with us. This space and time is dedicated for active conversation between you, our viewers, through the chat with our special guests. If you have any questions, feel free to list them anytime during our segment and we will address them. Proverbs 29:18 states, where there is no vision, the people perish. But he that keepeth the law, happy is he. Yes, God has a plan for your life. He has a plan for my life. Can you envision it? Are you setting goals for yourself? Well, let's hear what our guest has to say as I now turn it over to Mimi Lovelace, our co host, and welcome our special guest for this hour, LaShawn Williamson.
Hello, everyone. Again, hello. So while I introduce LaShawn, I want to make sure that I implore upon you to get your pads, your pencils. If you want to start enabling your voice memos, whatever you need to do, this is going to be chock full of information that is actionable, information you can take away, practical information that you can take away. So I want to make sure that you really set your mind and set your heart to receive. LaShawn Williamson, let me just start with this. LaShawn is my first cousin. So if you see any similarities in our faces, whether my mom or LaShawn or myself, this is my first cousin. Very proud. She is my first cousin. LaShawn is an entrepreneur. She is a marketing and ministry solution strategist and a branding specialist. She enjoys helping visionaries bring their visions to life. She is the owner and chief operating officer, of Wave 7 Communications LLC and founder of Ecclesia Marketing and Management Services. She is an independent life changer and regional director with Total Life Changes and a health and wellness company. LaShawn is a kingdom builder, worshiper, and intercessor. Let me tell you that again, because of anything, I'm sure she's the most proud. She is a kingdom builder, worshiper, and my God, is she a worshiper and an intercessor. She has been married to her college sweetheart, Avery, for 33 years. She is the proud mother of 5 adult children and a proud grandmother of 4 and 1 on the way. So we are really delighted to have her here. She has so much information to share with you all. And so what I will start with as we introduce LaShawn is the first question, because I'm sure you guys are wondering, what is a marketing and ministry solutions strategist? What is a branding specialist? All those titles are important, but I think if you knew LaShawn, she would talk about really what it means to be a life champion, and then, play into how that relates to her role as an entrepreneur and branding strategist. So, Sean, if I could just ask you to open up and telling the people here are watching us today, what among the many hats that you wear, what does it mean to be a life champion, an entrepreneur, solution strategist? How do you wear all those hats and effectively work in the purpose and calling that God has for your life?
Wow. And that's a loaded question. And first of all, I want to just start out by thanking you and Aunt Decorius for allowing me this opportunity to share and on your platform. And I see great things coming forward from it. So yes, I start out with I'm a life champion because life has happened to me. And that looks like many different things on many different levels, as I'm sure it is for most people who are watching this right now. We say life happens, and because life happens, what I've learned over these 54 years that God has blessed me with life is that because it is going to continue to happen, some things I like, some things I don't, some things I caused, some things other people did, right? It's who I become is determined by how I respond to life happening. And that's what we need to understand. We so often find ourselves in a posture of reaction to life. But knowing what I have learned over time is that if God truly orders my steps, that whatever comes my way, I have to trust that I'm going to win in it. I'm a winner. So that's why I call myself a life champion. No matter what life throws at me, I win, because greater is he that is in me than he that is in this world. And when I look back over my life, when I might have felt at times that I was abandoned by God because of the things that were allowed to happen to me, I want to say that again. There were times in my life where I felt abandoned. I could have felt abandoned because of the things that were allowed to happen to me. What I have learned looking back, they say hindsight is 2020. What do you do? See it so much clearer. I think 2020 is going to get another definition after we've just gone through the one we've gone through. But anyway, hindsight is 2020, right? So now that I look back over those moments when I could have felt abandoned, I see how God could trust me to use what he allowed in that season. He never left me. He was always there, but it could be used for his glory because there are other people who would go through the very same things. And they need to know that he is a deliverer and he is a healer. So I win. No matter what it is, I win. I have to take that posture. I am a life champion. So that probably addresses one part of your question. And what was the other?
Really how it relates to the roles that you serve in, whether it's being a branding specialist or a solution strategist, how those roles have helped you to serve in those different capacities. And I mean, those are the ones that you sort of serve in the marketplace, but there are things that you do even outside of that too. That are very, I think, wedded in what you said when we talked previously, really knowing who you are in God and really being confident of that and taking those bumps and bruises, the things that you feel like, God, I don't understand how this happened, why this happened to me, but allowing God to use that because you also serve other women too in your business and even outside of your business. So just trying to frame that, how all that comes together for you.
Yeah, when it comes to a branding specialist, I always encourage people to understand that you are your own brand. Mm-hmm. You are your brand. When someone encounters you, they are encountering your brand, who you are, who people see, what people experience. There's just certain things that are like visuals that are easy for people to say, oh, that's Nike. Oh, that's McDonald's. Oh, you know what I'm saying? So when they look at you, they say, oh, that's LaShawn. Oh, that's Cletisha. or we say Mimi.
Mhm.
You know, you are your brand. And when we try to, I always pose this question because I think it was Miles Monroe that I first heard say the semblance of this statement is, why are you here and what will it matter? Okay. That ties into your branding. Why are you here and what will it matter? So it's like, what do you have to give? You know, like that alabaster box. What is it? What treasure do you have to give to the world because of what life has dealt you and you win at it?
Mhm.
You know.
Mhm.
So that's a branding specialist. I found myself helping people define their brand. I help ministries. You know, I deal with different visionaries. And sometimes those visionaries find themselves in a place where they have an idea, but they don't know how to get it out.
Yes.
So I come in and help them identify the resources that they have available. You know, you can even do that in your life.
Mhm.
You know, when you look at what it is that you want to do, well, the question is, well, what are you working with? What are you working with? What do we need to improve upon? You know, what do you already have on board that you can use that you're underutilizing? You know, so that is as it is in ministry, as it is in your life, you know. Yeah, pretty much it.
You know, Sean, when we spoke earlier, you talked about how God has called you into rooms that you didn't feel qualified for.
Uh-huh.
But that, and I love it when you said it, your responsibility is not the outcome, but obedience.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about that? Because I think some people need to be encouraged, feeling like they're inadequate, they don't have it all together, but they want to be used by God to just feel like, and I'm gonna be transparent for myself. A lot of times I wouldn't say yes to God until I could see how it was all going to line up. No, it wasn't secure enough for me, or I didn't feel like I had that right now. No, I can't do that, God. Even saying yes was contingent upon me feeling like I had confidence in my own gifting or my own talents. And that is so apart from what God requires of us. But I think that I'm not unique in that there are a lot of people who used, like me, who I don't anymore, because I'm here right now because I said yes, even though I didn't feel like I was qualified to be here. I didn't feel like I was. And if I can just pause for a moment, it's been so many people to call me and encourage me for responding to this assignment. But I want you to understand that even in this assignment, I still feel I don't know what I'm doing. I feel like I'm inadequate, but God. But God. And I know that this is something that you experienced too, LaShawn, being in the rooms that you've been assigned to. I think it would just be encouraging for women to hear you talk about that.
Yeah. Faith over facts.
Mm,
You know, I feel that, I mean, definitely, I've got that T-shirt that you've worn.
yeah.
And I still at times get tempted to put it back on.
Yes.
You know, because when another opportunity comes, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, you know. But I think that, you know, that obedience part to God helps us keep us out of the way.
Mm,
We find ourselves getting in the way because we believe that the outcome of what our assignment is dependent on how great we are or
mm,
how perfect we did it.
amen.
You know,
Mhm.
I'm probably going to mess up something before we get off of here. Who knows? But I hope not to. I hope not to be misunderstood. But and I hope not to say something the wrong way. But I have to take a chance just to get out there and say it and trust that the truth behind the why I did it will outweigh any wrong that might come of it. You know, because God's responsible for the outcome, not me. I'm just being obedient. I would be okay not being up here right now, to be honest with you. I would be okay with someone else doing this right now, you know. But I know that there's an assignment. And what I often try to really help people see is, and I'm specifically in this case, talking to through the lens of a believer, talking to a believer. There's a greater responsibility. You're not responsible for what you don't know. You're responsible for what you do know.
Yeah.
Okay. So for those who are watching that have no connect with some of the things I'm saying, it's because of what they don't know. But for the people who do know, and those others will come into that knowledge, that is my prayer. We have to understand that, we sometimes put too much on God as a cop-out.
Mm-hmm.
If God does this, if God does that, if God has finished, he has done a finished work.
Finished work. Amen.
He has seen it from the beginning to the end. It is finished. He's done his part. When you talk about sometimes feeling like, why am I in this room? God said your gifts will make room for you. So I have to remember that if there's a room open to me, there's a gift that made room for me to be there. For me to struggle and fight with God and say, no, I'm not good enough. I'm not this, I'm not that. I am weighing that outcome of being in that room all on me. I'm taking it all on me. And I'm putting myself before God when all God wants from you is obedience, because he knows the path that he's carved for our lives, right? And it's to do us good. And when we can really walk in the awareness that I'm walking on a God assignment, me being a wife is a God assignment. Me being a mother is a God assignment. Me being an entrepreneur is a God assignment. Me being a worshiper is a God assignment. These are God assignments. And if I stay in a posture of yielding myself to his will and his way, I will stay out of my own way. We have got to be ready to get out of our own way, that comfort zone. There's nothing comfortable about ministry.
Say that one more time, Sean, please. For the people in the back.
There is nothing comfortable about ministry. And if it is comfortable, you're probably not doing it. You're doing something else, because I've always been uncomfortable. There has to be a willingness to be naked and unashamed about what God has allowed you to go through in life. There has to be a willingness and a yieldedness to the Holy Spirit, because he said he will lead and guide us into all truth about a thing. There's still chapters in my life that are being written that the understanding is coming along the way. I'll use as a case in point, and I get teary-eyed every time I talk about it. But at a young age, I had an abortion. Okay. You introduced me sharing that I'm the mother of 5 adult children. I didn't even know if I would be able to have children, right? But what I have seen over the years as God is writing that chapter out in my life, the understanding of the why behind the it becomes clearer to me. Not that it was the will of God, but, I made a decision. And as a consequence, there are some things that a chain reaction of things that have happened in my life that even till this day, I still battle with, but I know I win. One thing is the word in itself, abortion, I have found over time, releases a spirit of abort in your life. You will often want to abort a mission before it gets birthed. I have found that in my life. I have found that it has been like a holding place sometimes. It's just, that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day.
Yeah.
But what I have found over the years is that God has allowed me to help rescue some babies. Praise God. It has allowed me to rescue some women who were in major depression. You know, so does that work to the good? Yes, it does. And when I say we put too much on God sometimes and use it as a cop out, what I mean by that is the Bible tells us in Revelations that, we overcome the enemy by the blood of the Lamb. That's a done, finished work. The blood of the Lamb, done, finished. And it worked. But what else does it say? And by the words of our testimony. That has nothing to do with God and everything to do with you. But what do we do? What they gonna think if I knew I had an abortion? Does that disqualify me? Not from the doors I'm supposed to be, not from the rooms I'm supposed to be in. No, it doesn't. Right? So we have to take everything. God can take all things that we go through and work it together for our good if we yield our will to his way in that thing. So, why are you here and what will it matter? Why are you here in this place right now of being unemployed and you don't know how you're going to make ends meet? Why are you there? Why are you in the middle of a divorce? Why are you in the middle of, I don't know, the worst thing you could think of? Why are you there? To the believer, what you have to understand is that a righteous man's steps are ordered of the Lord. And when I look at that, I say, okay, that means that if I was walking too close to a cliff and God allowed me to be there, I just believe he's going to order my steps where I won't fall over. I'm right there at the edge, loving God, going through this stuff, feeling like I'm going to lose my mind. And God, you ordered my steps here? No, I am ordering your steps in the midst of what you're going through. So if you yield your will to my way, you won't fall over that cliff. If you don't look to yourself for the answer and look to me for the answer, you won't fall over that cliff. That makes sense?
It makes a whole lot of sense. And I loved what you said about the words of our testimony. I think one thing that has been thematic in our monthly conversations is people talking about what they've been through and how it is not just used to allow them to walk in total freedom and liberty, but somebody else that may be in bondage because we don't want to have to open up, expose our ugly secrets. We don't want people to think that we don't have it together, because we are very much, and it's not isolated to women or men, it's all of us, humanity. We want to present something that looks like it's polished, it's refined, and especially amongst believers, that we want to give the appearance that we've got it all together. And I think what, like I said, has been thematic in our conversations, that people are saying, listen, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this, and God used it to set me free. He took me out of this, but he also allowed me to minister to someone else. And when we talk about that transparency, even what you've said about abortion, I mean, the more we talk about it, the more we expose it, the more people will be set free. Will be set free, but being willing to be open and be a vessel, and having to show our ugly secrets. It comes in that, and I thank you for that, because I think if we all sat down and sometimes sat in a room and talked about all of that, we take away the power that the enemy has over a lot of people, and thinking you're the only one. And they stay, and they allow that weight to stay on them. And my pastor, who went on to be with the Lord, he used to say, if you don't know what to say to yourself for a while, don't say nothing. Just read the Bible and you speak the word of God. because the enemy will allow your mind, it is a battlefield indeed, will allow your mind to convince you you're not good enough. You're not qualified, you messed up. And if they find out, you might not even want to even say yes for those reasons. And so I love that. I love that because that's something I talk a lot about amongst my friends, just the need for transparency, for us to be willing to share what we've each been through and understand that the power that is in that.
Can I mention something else too
Yeah.
that the enemy does? He gets us confused about the purpose of pain. We allow him to confuse us about the purpose of pain. I'm going to stay right with my abortion. What I often hear women say, I just feel so bad. It just, to this day, and it's been many years ago for me, I'm 54. It still causes me pain to think about what I did.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean I'm not healed. Now, you could take that same pain and listen to the accuser and dwell on the fact of you're not forgiven.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You go into a place of condemnation instead of the place where God speaks to us in conviction. So the enemy's purpose is to get you confused about if you're healed, you wouldn't feel it. Why are you crying?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Any wound that you suffered, it takes time to heal. But even though it heals, guess what? 9 times out of 10 is still there.
Yeah.
A scar.
Yeah.
And what does that scar do? It reminds you of that injury. And it can even help you. It causes you to remember the pain.
Yeah.
Even though it's a scar. It's completely healed over, right? So do not confuse the purpose of pain. Use it as a power that will give again and give again and give again and give again. It's spelled the same way. It gives again. What in the world are you supposed to give with what God has allowed you to go through? What are you supposed to give? What will be your legacy? How many souls will be saved because you're going to share your testimony and overcome the enemy? Because God did his part. It's a finished work of the cross. But the words, telling the story, telling of his goodness, I believe I will testify of the goodness of God.
Yeah.
And I pray that it's stirring up in the ears and the hearts of the hearers right now. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. You know, as I was in the shower this morning and I was talking to God, one of the things that, when it comes to my abortion and sharing it, people say, well, yours was too far gone. That's why you feel the way you feel. But I did mine early. Too far gone was I was 4 months pregnant. I was 16 weeks, guys. 16 weeks. And they will go and say, oh, well, you were so far gone. That's why you know. When does life begin? That's a controversial thing out there. Science will tell you so many different things. But I believe I heard the Lord say, life begins in my heart and in my mind. In the mind and heart of God, that's where life begins. Life begins in the mind and heart of God. What did he say in Jeremiah 29:11? I knew you even before you were formed in your mother's womb. He knew Jeremiah before he even was conceived in his mother's womb, because he was already in the heart and mind of God. So where does life begin? In the mind and heart of God. So it doesn't matter if the abortion was a few weeks early or far gone like mine was. It's still life. And God knows you. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. And we can't get hung up on what we see in the mirror.
Yes.
Because I would never come out. I'd be like, this ain't right. My hair ain't right. This ain't right. And this ugly and whatever. Right? We just talk ourselves down too often.
Yes.
And then, for people, oh my God, she's this and she's that. And oh my God, y'all, I'm human. I am not perfect. But what God allows people to see is what they need to see. And most often it's what he sees in us.
Yeah.
So when someone gives you a compliment about you, just know God is giving you a compliment because he's saying, this is what I'm allowing someone to see about Letitia.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I see her.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I'm allowing someone to see about LaShawn.
Yeah, yeah.
That's how I see you, LaShawn. He's speaking to us through other people. He's encouraging us through other people. Well, Lord, I didn't make my bed before I came down here this morning. That don't matter. I know my Aunt Dee's bed probably is made.
You know it is. You know
See?
it.
I know her, but it doesn't even matter. That didn't even matter. Y'all don't care about that. But you might have heard something here that encouraged you today from a sister who is just on her path in her journey, the chapters of my life. Or I'm walking out the chapters of my life because I know my name is already written in his book. I'm just walking out the chapters of the part of my life in his book.
Amen.
Makes sense?
It does make sense. It does make sense. Mom, I think you were going to say something.
There's just so many golden nuggets that you've already shared, Sean. And when I thought about when you talked about the brand, I said, Lord, I said, that's what it means to be when we're your children, when we live the life that you've given us according to your word, according to your way. We are branded by you. And we know, and people know that we are yours because of what we stand for and what we do. And then I thought about when you talked about the pain and the scars. And I thought about, I said, God, I said, with all the pain and all the scars that we have in our lives, you still have a purpose and a plan for our lives. And that's where that faith over facts comes. Sometimes we have to forget about all the little details and just trust God. Because at the end of it, anyway, it is about God. It's God's responsibility to make the outcome for you, but you have things to do to get to that point. But God is such an awesome God. He had, the things that we go through, the things that we've experienced in our lives, you never know when you share how you bring freedom to others. Now, for me, I'm very private and I like keeping things to myself. But even I'm noticing that God is beginning to speak to my heart about certain things. But you got to be free and you got to share what God has given you, but you also got to be careful when to share it and how to share it. I just don't go out there and just telling everybody everything. You have to use wisdom. When God says go and he gives you that red light to go, then hey, you take it from there and leave it in God's hand. But I'm just so taken back how God is just honoring the faithfulness of his word when he says that I have the plan for you. Now, granted, I sit back a lot of times and I say, Lord, I know I wouldn't be on this platform. It is not me. There's no way. I don't even like, I love people, but I don't like being in front of people. You give me the background, I'm good. But when you put me in front, I struggle with that. But I'll never get to the place that God has me if I don't trust him in my fears, with my scars and with my pain.
And Mom, as you said, Jeremiah 29, he knows the plan. And generally speaking, that plan don't look anything like what we think our plan is. And we have to be willing to abandon what it is that we think we want, that we think should be the plan, to trust God's plan and know that it's always better. He has never led me astray. And even in the moments that you talked about, Sean, in the beginning, where you felt like you had been abandoned, truthfully, when you look back, he was with us the entire step, the entire journey. But it's the yielding, the letting go, the shedding of my will, of that flesh, and saying, God, it's you I desire, it's your will I desire. And that is not easy. That is not easy. It comes with fear, it comes with some anxiety. Nobody wants to fail, but God is in control. God is in control. And I want to talk about something that we talked about, Sean, about how sometimes we can be in love with the image of success, but haven't really contemplated, evaluated the fruit of it, whether good or bad. So when we talk about goal setting and to ensure we're on the right path, what are some of the things we need to consider or know as we talk about the success and the possessing the fruit of it?
I think it starts with being clear about why you want it, whatever it is. What's the why behind it? Because, when we set goals, I really feel that it needs to be for the purpose of not just prospering you, but prospering others, Like, I set some really goals for myself in my business this year. I am an entrepreneur, and one of the things that I do is I am a life changer with Total Life Changes. It's a health and wellness company. And my husband and I have been with them now 6+ years. And I work it on a very part-time basis, but I teach people how to use part-time hours and make full-time pay like I am with Total Life Changes. But the big goals that I have set for myself with that business and what I want to achieve this year, it's not so much of what I want to get. It's more about what I want to give. I want to leave a legacy of wealth to my children. I remember hearing Aunt Dee and my mom and them talk about their grandfather, and how he, owned land and had horses, a horse out in the yard, and just well-respected man in the community. And I think there was some wealth there, some wealth. I don't want my grandchildren to say, I think there was some wealth there. That's my motivation. I want them to say, my great grandma or my grandma, or because of this, she positioned me so now that I can do X, Y, Z. Now, one thing I'm very appreciative of is my grandparents and their grandparents, somewhere along the line, I know they knew God, because you see it all through our bloodline. We have such a reverence for God, no matter how far people stray away. It comes back. He's like a center. We had some intercessors in our family. That is a great legacy to pass down.
Yeah.
We had some great worshipers. I don't doubt it in our family. I mean, I've heard that, Aunt Dee's mom, my grandma, sang before the president, So, great legacy there. And I'm appreciative. Great legacy of talent, great legacy of faith, but not finances. And I feel that it is a driven passion of mine because God has given it to me to create this wealth. And that's why I know I'm going to have it, because it won't leave me alone. Yeah. We can dream a lot of things, but that dream that never leaves you, it sticks and stays. It's like, It's calling you. That dream is a calling. It's saying, expect this, work towards this. What is that thing? You know, my husband has something that he said he doesn't say it often, but he says it. He said it over the years, and we're celebrating 33 years. So it'll be 34 years this year. But he wants an orphanage. He said it. He wants an orphanage. And I'm like, it just every now and then it'll come back, you know. So those fleeting dreams where, you know, oh, I don't know, something fleeting, because I really do want to go. I dream of going to Hawaii and enjoying Hawaii. I do, after all this COVID. But you know, those things that are more self-seeking, self-fulfilling, right? But those goals that you set that have a kingdom purpose, a long-lasting, effective purpose to benefit others, it has to be the driving force behind the why you do something. It's the why that makes you cry. For those who are in our industry, they understand that statement. It really makes you cry. It's like, I've got to do this, you know. And God will give the provisions for you. So when you set the goals, I mean, you have some short term, long term, but some of them can even seem far-fetched. But even if that's one that really keeps coming at you, don't take it off the table, because it could be a calling for your arrival. Right. Did I answer that? Did I?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Okay.
And I just want to touch on what you said about goals are not so much about what you want to get, but what you want to give. And you talk about legacy. And it's funny you say that, because I was talking to my husband this week, and I was saying that if anybody were to say anything about my parents, Willie and Decorous Vines, there will be no disputing that when I say they were faithful to God, no one could dispute it. No one could dispute it. And what my parents have left as part of their legacy is demonstrating faithfulness to God. No, they're not perfect. No one is. But that is not a legacy that is minimized in the grand scheme of all their other accomplishments. The fact that people have seen them walk it out when it got hard, when it got ugly, when it was painful, that is a witness that a lot of people haven't seen in a lot of people, you know. And we cannot minimize what we do for God, no matter how small it may seem, insignificant it may seem. Your degrees, they're great. Glory to God that you've accomplished it. You've accomplished it. Your salary, your house, all of those things are great. And God loves to bless us, right? But what we do for him and his kingdom, that is everlasting. And I just love how you emphasize that legacy, because oftentimes we don't think about what we do and the impact of it beyond the moment, and beyond what it is that we want from it, but what people will see as a result of your obedience, the result of you trusting God. Because if they see you trusting God when it's hard, and they see you holding on when they go through hard times, they've seen your testimony. And God is not a respecter of person. So you got to believe that if he's been faithful to them, he's faithful to you, and he's going to bring you out of it. But sometimes just allowing yourself to walk through and allow people to see you in that testimony right there is amazing, you know, and the impact of it, you just never know. And I just wanted to stay there and emphasize that for a moment, because it is very true. Our legacy is what we leave behind. And I pray to God that I have the ability, and I know I do, because of God, to allow my children to see me and my husband walking in faithfulness and total obedience and surrender to God, because it's not easy, but they can do it. And that's what I want to leave for them. And when we talk about goal setting, those are the goals that I feel like the ones that matter. Those, not to say that my goal to get a certification this year isn't important. That's one of my goals, but I mean, we're not minimizing that, but it's so important that even when we talk about goal setting for the year, and we sit down and do our vision boards, and we talk about all the tangible things that we want, let's not forget setting goals for God. I want to grow in this. God, I want to do this for you, or show me how to walk in that. Show me how to trust you more. Show me. And I'm gonna tell you, one of my goals is to shut my mouth when I'm mad about some things, and particularly as it pertains to my 9 to 5. Lord, help me to be quiet. Help me to trust you. Help my brand be that no matter what I feel or think, God, that I'm going to stand and I'm going to speak only when you tell me to speak. I'm going to guard my tongue, God. I'm going to be obedient. And I'm going to reflect you in every room that I'm in, because my brand speaks about me when I'm not in the room. Really, truly. Yes, you see me, but when you see my name, I want you to say, oh, that was something Mimi did. And I don't even have to be in the room, and I don't have to tell you, because that's my brand. That's the excellence, the commitment to doing it right, even when it may not be popular. That's what I want my brand to be. So anyway, I digress, but I thought it was so
That was
good
absolutely amazing.
what you just said, about our legacy. So you're managing, I guess, 5, 6, 7 different things right now, Sean, in your life. Can you tell us about some daily habits, daily, weekly, or monthly habits and goals that you set, obviously, to be able to manage all those pieces that you want to do in excellence?
Mhm. I can honestly tell you that I am working it out.
Yeah.
That's what I can tell you. I just this last year in 2020 got a takeaway from God that freed me from, you know how they say you can be a jack of all trades and master of none?
Yes, yes, yes.
I used to take that on as an explanation for where I was, but I got convicted
Mm.
because God has made me a master over many things. And so I get what they're saying, but the way I was looking at it was wrong when you say master of none. God has helped me master many things well. And I look at even me having 5 children. Their ages are 32, 31, 28, 26, and 24. Okay, back to back to back to back to back. They are as different as night and day. They all have different needs. And on top of that, they got daddy, right? So I'm running a household with all these different personalities, all these different needs at all these different stages. It has been as I look back, a pattern in my life. And so when I look at all the different things on the table, now just right now I'm working on a book. I'll be a published author this year.
Okay.
Dealing with the womb. So be on the lookout. Be on the lookout. I'll share.
You will.
Yes, excited. But it's like, so many different hats that I wear. I often, find myself saying, okay, which one? Because they say you got too much on your plate. You need to take something off your plate. That's where I was in last year. I was just like, I need to take something. This is something. I don't know about for y'all, but it seemed like when COVID hit, I got busier than ever. You would think things would slow down. It sped up for me.
Yeah.
And so the question became, well, what do you take off your plate? And I clearly believe I heard him say, when it comes to your children, which one wouldn't be here? And I immediately knew what he was referring to. Because for someone to say, you got 5 children, Lord, I know she's about to go crazy, right? Because it's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll be honest, I've seen some people with 1 and you would have thought they were all 5 in one, but that's another story. But the question became, so which one would you take off the plate? Which one? None. They were all necessary.
Yeah.
You got to find out what's necessary. Now, there are some things on your plate that are not necessary.
Yeah.
So first identify what those things are that you're doing that are not necessary. But if all what you're doing is necessary, the answer is you take none off your plate.
Mm-hmm.
So God has to show me how to manage all that he is requiring of me. Because if he is requiring it of me, then he will make a provision for the vision. I've got to yield my way to him. Where I have found frustration in managing so many things is I, not we. God, what we gonna do about this? How you gonna help me with this? Because if I gotta do this and I gotta do that, now you need to help me, because show me what to do. I found that my place of frustration is when I was taking matters in my own hand.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then you can't become too confident, because there's certain things that I was doing that became like on autopilot. I did it so often, I could just delegate and do this and do that and get that done, just like that. That you still have to focus yourself on saying, God, does anything need to change? Do we still need to do it this way? Or just, you go on automatic mode, just, So, yeah. So what I have recently done that is helping me is I've segmented my day. Because what I found that, my first lady, Barbara Lockett, I love her, Barbara T. Lockett. She said, if it's not written, it's not said. Mm-hmm. So I have had to write down things. Mm-hmm. When I find that I write down things like, either the night before, things I want to do the next day, that helps me in that day feeling like, okay, I did good. Mm-hmm. But going into my day and not having any goals, I always tell people, if you aim at nothing, guess what you're going to do? Hit it. Yeah. Every time. So what are you aiming for today? This is what I'm aiming for today. Now, some things that I had on my list, I might not get to, but it goes to the next day. But at least I have it before me. It's written, so it's said. If not, it's just in my head. And I don't know about you, but I don't know if it's because I'm 54 or what, but if I don't write stuff down, when I think about it, sometimes it is gone.
Yeah.
I think it's because I have so much going on in my mind all the time. And I used to say, God, is something wrong. I rebuke this and rebuke that. And all. But I have so much going on in my mind. So if I don't write it down, I forget. Yeah. And I have had so many meetings. And it's like it was in my mind to do it. And then I look up and I missed the meeting. But I didn't write it down. I didn't connect it. I didn't make it tangible. It was in theory. It was just in thought. So writing it down. So here's what I've recently done. I've segmented my day into 3-minute block, 3-hour blocks. So like for 3 to 6, that's my faith, family, and me zone. Okay, that's my devotion. That's what I need to be doing for the family. And that's what I need to do for me, 6 to 9 a.m. Then 9 to 12 a.m. is work zone. Because see, I'm working from home, right? So, so there's different things I'm working on. So I have to prioritize what's the most pressing need for that day on my assignments with all these 4 different things I'm doing. I'm putting it in that work zone from 12 to 3. Okay, so I know I'm gonna have some lunch in there, and then I'm gonna have some me time in there. And I can choose if me time is me doing a workout, if me time is paying bills for the family, whatever, If I'm in a really big project and I've got to have a lot done, I might carve out some more work zone time in there, So I think I'm at 3 to 6 now, So I'm back, I'm off of lunch and me zone, and now I'm back in work zone. But part of that work zone has family in it, because I may start working on my dinner. You know what I'm saying? In that zone. I really try to, from 5 to 7, have it as family within that block. You know, so you go to 3 to 6 and then 6 to 9. So between that 6 to 7, it's still really kind of like my family 5 to 7 zone, where I'm doing something. I'm running to the grocery store. I'm doing something. You know what I'm saying? And then so from the 6 to 9 zone, part of it may still be family, or I may be done with family. But the nature of the work, you know, that I do with Total Life Changes, a lot of the people who are on my team have full-time jobs. So they're not free until the evening to work. So that's really like when I'm working with my teams, doing launch calls, trainings, things like that, right? Then that 9 to 12 zone, it might be a little work, but by 10, I try to be finished, so that 10 to 12 is me zone. And it's anything else over those times of the day that I didn't get something done, I could pick something up and do it, or I could just, you know, be preparing for the next day, you know, just, you know, honeydew time, you know.
Right.
You know, so it's whatever, but you got to find that time to, in your day, carve out some for me. Not being selfish, it's just called that self-care that you need to do, you know, because oftentimes I know what it's like to be in, when I don't follow this, and I'm a work in progress of sticking to it. When I stick to it, I have very good days. And sometimes, you know, life happens and you just fall off, you get distracted, things unexpected, and just, you know, and it seems like your day is just like gone and you're just everywhere. Yeah. Okay. That's when you said that song, Donnie McKirk, Get Back Up Again. Okay, just get back up again. Get back up again. Yeah. You got, by the grace of God, He's going to give you another day. Get back up again. Yeah. You know, just don't sit and swallow in it and then see yourself as defeated and see, I knew I couldn't do this, and there I go again, and blah, 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 blah. Shut the devil up in your head. Shut the devil up. I hate him. Yeah. Shut the devil up. I don't even like saying shut up, but that's one I will say, shut up, devil. Shut up. Shut up. And you tell him to shut up. Shut up. I rebuke you. And you dust yourself off and you get back up and you get on your assignment. What are you aiming for? Because you got to win.
Yes.
So
I love you talking about, you know, every 3 hours, breaking it up in manageable parts, because sometimes we try to approach something and we get overwhelmed by the magnitude of it all, but breaking it up in manageable parts. And one thing God has had to deal with me about is, you know, there's a difference between being busy and productive. You know, I was doing a lot of stuff, feeling like I was accomplished a lot, but it wasn't productive because, number one, half of it won't even stuff God had asked me to do. So part of what I was doing in my people-pleasing personality was just always trying to do something to prove something to someone else and wearing myself out. And then getting overwhelmed. But when I prayed about it, God told me to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I said, Lord, that ain't you. I don't get up early, Lord. That can't be you. And every time I would pray about it, He would tell me to get up at 6 o'clock. And I'm like, I mean, listen, I was questioning whether or not that was even God. But I'm going to tell you, the mornings I have committed myself to getting up at 6 o'clock, to praying, to reading scripture without fail. Not to say everything went my way, but I had a peace about it. I could almost hear God helping me navigate through my entire day. But committing my day, my thoughts, my works, everything to God in the morning when I woke up, and prioritizing time with Him made such a huge difference. And sometimes it's an hour, sometimes it's 30 minutes, sometimes it's 20 minutes. But when you purpose your day, each day, again, breaking up in manageable parts, so your goal isn't just year long, but it's breaking it up in day by day. When you commit each day to doing the will of God, to hearing from God, you will look back and like, God, we accomplished a lot in 30 days, or we accomplished a lot this week, but it wasn't because we were doing it in my strength, but I was totally depending and leaning on you to lead and guide me. And I think you said something to the fact, but God would not put the gift in you if he wasn't going to provide a path for you to get it done. And so often we're trying to create our own path, and he's like, I got the path. I got the path. And the only way you're going to know it is when you lean into him, you dwell in him, and you abide in his word and his presence. And it may not be the smoothest path, but it's going to be the path that he's going to walk with you. And when you're on the other side, you will know that God has been with you and God has directed you. But I just wanted to say that, because for me, it has been a challenge trying to manage all the things that I want to do. And I had to, like you said, break it up in manageable parts. If it's every 3 hours, if it's however you do that, so that you can be all things to all people, but you're not abandoning yourself. You're still ministering, you're honoring yourself. Because I would honor my time and my commitment to everybody else, but to myself. I wouldn't work out, or I wouldn't spend time. Honor your commitments to yourself, because that's just as important. You can be there for everybody else, but be there for yourself. Show up for yourself.
Mimi, can I share one more thing that I do too?
Yes.
That helps me? And I just did this week, is I set an alarm on my phone that maybe like 30 minutes prior to a new zone starting, I would get an alert, like a little beep, 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 like at 8:30 to let me know 9 o'clock is 30 minutes away.
Okay.
And sometimes in my mind, it just triggers, oh, wait a minute, I need to be sure I do this. If I didn't get my shower or something like that, whatever, I'm running to do that real quick so that I could try to keep myself on course. I'll be ready to go into that next zone and, do that. And give yourself grace, because it is a discipline. And so anything that is a discipline, it takes practice. But practice becomes what? Perfect. So just keep working on it.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So we are 2 minutes past the hour that we try to observe. Oh, no, this was good. I don't think anybody minds. I don't think anybody minds, but I did want to pass it. Before we pass it off to you, Mom, is there anything else, Sean, that you want to leave people who are listening or who will watch this, even past this live broadcast? Anything that you want to leave as a final note of encouragement?
What comes to mind for me is that God gets no glory by keeping your purpose a mystery from you. He's not doing that. You're just not paying attention to the signs he's given you. So, look over your life and just determine where you see God's hand and his provision, and know that most likely what you're going through wasn't for you, it was for someone else, and he wants to use that. And that will help you find purpose in life. And just be encouraged. God is for you, and he's a loving God. He's a trusting God. He speaks, and he speaks clearly. Pay attention to the signs that he gives you. And the underlying thing that helps me navigate when he's speaking is a peace. Do I find peace in that? Not convincing myself of something, but is it like, when he speaks, it's just like a assuredness, blessed assurance. It's like an assured peace.
Yeah.
So follow that, and I believe you'll be fine.
Good. And Sean, the best way to reach you for anyone who wants to reach out to you, ask you any questions, or connect with you, that's Facebook?
Absolutely. Yeah. Message me, because I do get a lot of friend requests. So it would be good if you could message me. I do check for those messages, and be glad to have you as a friend.
All right. I will drop that information in the chat. Mom, it's all yours.
Well, LaShawn, we thank you so much today for all your wisdom and the nuggets that you have given us. And, I think about it, I say, if I had to sum it all up, would be this. Start your day in the presence of the Lord, number one. Number two is this. And it doesn't really have to be number one and two, because they're both important. The other thing is this, that when we think about success, we're not talking about the success that the world gives. We're talking about the success that only God can give. And that can only happen through your obedience to answering the call to whatever purpose and plan that God has for your life. Let me say this, it does not come without a price, a cost. There is a cost to it, but the rewards outweigh the cost every time. You just have to lean in and trust Him. So, Sean, again, I thank you for being our guest today. And all that you said has been so refreshing and so inspiring. So, ladies, let me remind you that next month it's called, as we know, Valentine's Day, the Love Month. So, our next colloquy will be on the topic of love lasting. So schedule Saturday, February the 13th, 2021. Mark it on your calendars and plan to join us for this segment as our guest openly shares about love lasting. So let me pray with you before we leave. Father, we just thank you so much for this time. May what was said today bring you glory as we set ourselves in alignment with your purpose for our lives. Give us your wisdom. May we be discerning in knowing how we are to move forward in pursuing the passion, the giftings, the callings that you have placed within us. If we as a people are left to ourselves with no vision, we are likely to do our own thing, being ungovernable, deprived of moral restraints, misguided, led away, astray from the true callings and giftings that you have for us. True success is not measured by what man thinks, but by our obedience to your will and your purpose for our lives. So we thank you that you loved us enough that you are not leaving us to ourselves. Father, I pray that something said and done, oh God, will resonate in the hearts of your children, oh God, that we might be all that you've called us to be. In Jesus' name, I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Please share. Please share this with any of your friends or anywhere you feel like it would be a blessing to someone else, because I do believe that there have been a lot of encouraging comments here and practical advice that we can apply to our lives. And before we go, I just want to say, you are a champion. We want to reiterate, you are a champion. Walk in it, believe it, and we are believing and praying for God's best for you. You all have an awesome week, and until we see you next month. And next month isn't just for married folks, single, engaged, all of the above. So we'll have more information forth. But until then, be encouraged. We love you and have a wonderful weekend. God bless.
God bless.